Mary Lord, welcome to the podcast. If people are not watching this on YouTube and are instead tuning in just in an audio medium, may I recommend they come and watch? Because we are currently in a room full of beds.
It's beddy.
It's very beddy. And I don't know how to describe that in a way that doesn't sound weird.
And also why?
Who knows?
Why are so many beds in a room?
Well, the real why is that we are here on a founder's retreat.
We are.
And I said to you, I'm going to sit down and speak to you. And then you don't have to do it on Zoom.
That's preferable, I think. I like the in-person connection.
Yeah.
Can really bounce off each other.
That's what we're here to do.
Got the in-person energy.
It's the afternoon. The vibes are somewhere. Who knows?
There's
They're all over the place.
There's been lots of information that my brain has absorbed today.
But we're going to have a nice chat.
Well,
You've had a big year.
It's been a bit wild, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Before we dive into that,
Yeah.
tell people what you do. What's your business?
Yeah, so my business is a virtual assistant agency. I am an online operations manager alongside of that. And I also have this year launched Yaycations, which are co-working holidays abroad. But yeah, the kind of core of the business is a virtual assistant agency we are a team of 20 and we are Yay Collective.
We love it. And it was actually this very estate that we first met on, January last year. You came on my retreat. You came back January of this year. It's a regular appointment. So let's talk about this year then. January of this year, we worked together. We were here doing a retreat. Tell people tuning into this, where was your business at that point? Because I would even say from the January before to that January, there was a huge amount of growth. But if we're focusing on 2025, where did you enter the year?
So I entered the year again post a slightly wild 2024 with a lot more confidence in terms of who I was as a business owner. I was looking at my business like it actually was a business rather than just like a sort of freelancey hobby that sort of spiraled out of control. So we had things in place. I was active on socials, just about kind of marketing myself, and we'd done some work together to kind of figure that all out. So I was getting there, but I think kind of doing stuff that people said you should be doing and kind of feeling my way into the world there. We had a team. Team was maybe 6 or 7.
So from that to over 20 at the end of the year.
It's been kind of a wild year of growth. Yeah, I had kind of inklings of wanting a rebrand. We were Yay Creative at that time in January. So inklings of wanting things kind of not really feeling aligned kind of where we actually were versus my kind of DIY branding 2020, we're just going to start a business energy.
Yeah.
So there were inklings of that. I knew that we needed to kind of move beyond it. And yeah, so in January, it was very like, this year needs to be quite big. My whole kind of focus for the year after the retreat in January was on team. It was on diversifying. So diversifying kind of what I was and the business was doing away from just virtual assistant stuff.
Yeah.
And then realign. So kind of realigning. That was kind of mainly the rebrand energy, but kind of realigning everything that was going on with the dream and the goals and the mission.
I love that. So they were your 3 yearly intentions for 2025. Wow. Yeah. Always a good sign when you can still recall them towards the end of the year, because obviously the whole point of the AB method and having yearly intentions is there's only 3 max, so it's easy to keep them top of mind.
Yeah.
But when you get towards the end of the year, it can start to feel a bit like, well, where were we in Jan?
100%.
So I love that. How did you find that process of casting that vision back in January?
I found it relatively easy. Definitely easier with like support and the kind of space to actually sit down and do it. Otherwise I would have been in like April and been like, maybe I should get some structure for my year or like think about what I'm doing. So I found it relatively easy because the team was at a point where it was kind of growing and I needed to bring in some like more senior level stuff. So that felt really like obvious. And then I kind of built the intention around that. The realign one felt really obvious because it was like the biggest sticky, challenging point. And I was like, hate the branding, hate the energy. That's all actually just growing. I need to sort that out. So that was really easy. I think there were sort of rumblings at the retreat, but then it took me perhaps a couple of months after that to be like, it's diversify, like quite specific. That third one was a bit stickier. It was there. I was just not able to like label it as easily until maybe a couple of months afterwards.
Clarity takes time. We talk about that a lot, and on it doesn't always come
process.
first time.
Yeah.
But I love that you've mentioned the retreats, because it was actually the January retreat in 2024 where we first met, where I realised that the work on it needed to exist in something outside of a retreat, because as you'll know, the work that we do in January at those retreats is exactly what we do in the On It January session of like vision for the year, making sure your purpose is clear, setting those yearly intentions. And I was like, gosh, what an inaccessible way. Lovely. But not everyone can get themselves to a retreat. So that was kind of where that On It concept first started for me, of like, how do we start that in Jan, but obviously then continue it throughout the year. So fast forwarding people then to where you are now, if those were your 3 yearly intentions for this year, you alluded to it already that it's been a big growth year. Give us some of the highlights. What's changed? Where's the business now?
Yeah, so it's probably easiest if I literally go through each of the intentions and then be like,
I love this.
Here's what we've ticked off.
No one else has done this in the case study chats.
Really?
But I love that you've said what your yearly intentions were. We can just go line by line.
But that's how I find it easiest to like track my progress, because stuff happens that are outside of them that you can't always be like, I'm going to try and squeeze that into a yearly intention. Even last week I was looking at kind of what I'm up to and I'm like, okay, that's fitting into that.
It's like constant categorization, isn't it? Of like, okay, these are the 3 North Stars. What are we doing? Or if something happens, right, where did that fit in?
Well, it's categorization, but it's also helped me like prioritize. Like if an opportunity's come up or something's gone on, I've gone, where does this fit into things? And if it doesn't, like, is it something that I want to do this year, or is it something that like feels important to like put money into, or time, or like move things around or whatever? Yeah, they've been really important. Has the kind of goals within the team intention have shifted throughout the year. I kind of started off being like, I need to hire like 3 like senior leadership team and we need to kind of go all in and blah, blah, blah. But that felt a little bit sticky as the year went on. So in terms of team, this year I brought in a head of creative who was actually already on the team, and I've just kind of promoted her and she's been working really well.
A great example, by the way, of how the plans evolve as the year goes on. That's why it's like, have these yearly intentions that are actually quite vague, so that in Q1 you get to try one thing, and if that doesn't quite work in Q2, 3, 4, you can...
Don't just like keep it on the list, because...
Yes, it's not like, no, it has to be this. It's like, okay, that's the vision, and you almost get to work out as you go how you're going to get there. So I love that you had that journey of like, oh, nope, that didn't quite work, and then you just go on to the next idea.
Yeah, 100%. So the kind of senior leadership thing there, and then we've grown, we're now a team of 20, so it wasn't necessarily my intention to like grow the team, that's just kind of happened just with our kind of natural growth. But then also something really important was kind of team culture and retention, and kind of what I can be doing, because we're all fully remote and kind of people are freelance, what I can be doing to kind of benefit my team and keep them around and train them up and make our service generally better across the team. So I've started doing like feedback surveys. We do like monthly Yay clinics where there's like some kind of training involved that I'll run or a team member will run, and then it'll be recorded. We're doing weekly co-working sessions. We're doing monthly like calls, because we do calls, but kind of whenever I would be like, let's do a call. We have a whole like in-person team day planned with photo shoot at Candid and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a big like teamy year, and I'm immediately like feeling good vibes from team, and like the Slack workspace is just like, it's a really good place to be in. People are asking for advice, and
I love it. So all those like internal systems and changes that have made the business, I bet, nicer for you to run, nicer culture internally, better for clients. Just good. Good improvements all around. And are those things that maybe you would have found it hard to prioritize or organize without the kind of structure that we have in the AB method and in On It? Like what helped you to do that?
I think it was the kind of bringing it back to those intentions. I think the team piece, almost like everything has always, and this year specifically, just kind of been ticking along. And so I think without me in January having like identified it as a thing that I wanted to work on this year, when the year got really busy, it could have quite easily been like, okay, well, it's all actually fine. We don't need to prioritize it. Like there's no reason, like there's other stuff that's kind of more important. But actually, I decided it was important. It was and is still really important. So having it as part of an intention and as part of the kind of 3 monthly, or basing all my like monthly goals against it, meant that it has actually happened and it's actually made a difference in the business and the team.
Yes, you're like forced to remember it, aren't you? It's like every month and definitely every quarter, it's brought back to your attention, and it's like, okay, there's that thing that, because so many of these things, they're important, but they don't feel urgent, right? That's the whole concept of working on your business. 100%. I love that. So tell us about then your second intention around diversifying. What has changed with your business this year?
So the diversifying now, but more kind of towards the end of last year, stopped doing VA work. So I was like, the growth is such now that I don't need or want really to be doing VA work. Step back from it just to kind of run the team and do other things. And I wasn't like bored, but I was like, okay, now is the time to either bring in new services or introduce other things in terms of personal brand, as well as just kind of through the agency. There were goals like do a bit more like public speaking or go on panels, do some angel investing. The Yaycations kind of sat under that as well, because I had the idea for that, and I was like, and in January that was wouldn't it be cool if?
One of our favourite exercises.
And that kind of came about way quicker than I was anticipating. That's all, we can get onto that.
I love when a wouldn't it be cool if becomes a isn't it cool that.
Yeah.
That's the best.
But also in the middle of that, like, why the fuck can't I just do it? Like, I was like, there's no reason that I can't just do that right now. So we did that. So yeah, the diversifying kind of came from that. And yeah, this year I've been asked to be on podcasts. I've done my first like panel at an event, and kind of opportunities and things like that already lined up for next year. And so that was really important, that kind of diversification of me from the business and kind of my activities as well, and that's been really successful.
Building more of a business, less of a job for yourself, and I guess then laying the foundations for the business being more scalable in future, your role being more fulfilling, all the good stuff. Probably the kind of intention that feels really exciting, but again, it can be a bit like, what can I control to help make this happen? And as you said, when we do that, wouldn't it be cool if exercise, the whole point behind that is it's playful. So you often come up with things that you wouldn't have otherwise committed to. And then once you realize you want something, you kind of get to go like, well, what could I do to get it? And then you realize you could do that thing. And then you realize you could achieve that thing. And that's happened for you this year, which I love.
With the like PR sort of goal and the sort of panels and speaking within the diversification, I think I kind of went into it with once I'm big enough or once enough people know about me, then there'll be loads of inbound about that, and people will just come to me and like ask me for things. And it hasn't happened like that, because it doesn't really, there have been opportunities like that, but actually keeping it visible throughout the year has kind of poked me to be like, actually, you have to outreach, you have to tell people that these are things that you want. You have to be like, hey, do you want me to come on your podcast? So that's kind of kept that visible throughout the year as well. Otherwise, again, it would have just been like, okay, well, I'm really busy, so I don't even have time for that.
Yes. It's so tempting, isn't it, to be a victim of your own lack of results and be like, well, I haven't been offered it, no one's given it to me, it hasn't naturally happened. And it's like, hold up, like you are in control so much more than you think. Definitely. And there's something I think that can be quite uncomfortable about taking control, because you suddenly realise like, well, if I don't have something, that's on me. But then there's something so exciting about being able to be like, oh my gosh, so that means that I can
that is on me.
Make these things happen. And it's obviously never quite that simple. There's privilege, there's luck, there's timing. But as a business owner, you can control 90% of what creates the outcome, and then create the outcome as you have this year. We love it. Okay, final I mean, we've got enough growth listed already, but what else has happened? Round it off.
Yeah, so the final intention then was realignment. I think initially I was just like, visually, the alignment is just grim, like hate it, absolutely. When you're just so embarrassed of like what you're putting out.
That was me before my rebrand this year, so I'm with you.
Absolutely, just the grimmest thing ever. And yours was like, you'd paid someone to do that. Mine was fully DIY, like cursed.
My first logo was scanned into my parents' printer, hand-drawn. So I was with you in that era.
And in January this year, that's where I was. We were turning over quite a lot, big team, like things are looking good internally. The realignment of this year kind of stemmed from that, like the brand piece. And I worked with a brand designer, web designer, and initially I was like, let's just kind of get the branding done. And then she was like, okay, here's this massive form that I need you to fill in about kind of your business and your mission and your strategy and all of that. And I just looked at that and I was like, again, that all needed realigning. And so the more I dug into it, the more it started with, I just need a new logo. And the more I kind of dug into it and was like, okay, the whole thing is just out of whack. We need to sort it out and get realigned everywhere. So we worked together, didn't we? Had a session on just like sorting that out, the kind of back end that I could then take to the brand designer to kind of translate that. I now have the most beautiful visual brand ever that just gets complimented all the time. And people are like, this is more you than you are as a visual. Like, it's just better than I could have imagined, and the website reflects that, and I did a photo shoot and all of that, and so everything just feels so good now. Like, it feels good on the inside, and it felt good on the inside anyway, but now like I fully feel like I've stepped into, this is my business, I'm really, really proud of it. And again, like that, the actual branding project didn't take that long, and kind of once that was done in like March, April, could have been really easy to just be like, yeah, done, we are realigned. But actually it was all the work off the then kind of from then to update everything else, to uphold the values that we'd kind of decided on, to share that with team, to make it visible to clients, to switch the messaging that I was putting out in like content. And when I was meeting people and people asked me like what my business did, that all shifted into place, that now it all feels really good. And kind of keeping that as a focus throughout the year meant that when things did feel slightly out of whack, or I picked up on something that hadn't quite been aligned properly, it kept it again at the forefront of like, okay, we need to actually prioritize that so that everything feels really good all the time.
Yeah. And I feel like what we can take from that as well is why having those yearly intentions actually be more about the impact than the thing you want to do is important. Because if your yearly intention was rebrand, as you said, you would tick the box of I got my branding back and think that you're done. But it's like you don't rebrand to rebrand. You rebrand because you want this alignment, this impact, this visibility. And so if that's the intention, like you said, you actually realize how many goals will add to that. And you make sure that you don't just do the thing. Like, for example, I would never believe in setting a yearly intention that's like launch this thing. Because it's never about the thing. It's about what the thing is doing for your business. You know, you wouldn't set a yearly intention that's like improve client processes, because it's like, well, what's that about? Is that intention about efficiency? Is it about experience? Like having that bigger why. And I love that for you, that helped you to also work out all the other things that were included in that intention that you wouldn't have thought about back in January. I love that walkthrough. I mean, clicks for you. What a year.
It's been big.
2025.
Yeah.
And I've said to everyone that I've chatted to about their year and, you know, the role that Onnit's played, like Onnit can give you all of the structure and prompts and everything in the world, but it's you that does it, and it's you that leans into that and takes the action. And so claps for you. We love that. What role has Onnit played in that growth and in your experience as well as you've grown the business this year?
So before Onnit, I was doing the kind of quarterly workshops that you were doing.
Yes, so here's some fun context for anyone tuning into this is that, I mean, Onnit has been a work in progress for 9-10 years. But last year I knew I had the idea, but I really believe that I don't launch things until they're thoroughly tested. And so I did these quarterly workshops, which if you bought all of them, you basically did Onnit without the monthly check-ins. And so many people did all 4, you included, and I was like, okay, there's something in this. People want more than just the January session. So I love that. So you did that last year.
Yeah. So even that, and then especially Onnit this year, has just meant that in my life of generally just being super busy, as we all are, but also kind of going through seasons of like travel or kind of being on holiday, and like I'm out the country a fair amount, or like went through a house move this year, like have had a really sort of unstable year in terms of location, which normally absolutely just throws me off. The fact that there was like a diarised monthly sit the fuck down, look at it, do it, come back to it, meant that I wasn't able to just like use my kind of slightly chaotic year as an excuse to not do it. I think without Onnit, genuinely, without those sessions and that accountability, and it's not like you're there holding a gun to my head like you need to be here, but I do that to myself because I know that I wouldn't be here having achieved half the things I would have done without any element of accountability. I genuinely would have just, as happened in the first 3 years of my business, when we weren't actually a bit, and I wasn't taking it that seriously in terms of this is actually a thing now, I would have just let the year just kind of go away with me, and it generally would have been in October, and I would have been like, oh yeah, it's kind of been a really crazy year, and like we've grown a little bit, but generally things have just kind of ticked on by without my like post-it saying diversified team and realignment, and like everything that I do throughout my day and week and like blocking things into my diary after Onnit, things just wouldn't have happened. Like genuinely things just wouldn't have happened.
I'm glad they did happen.
I'm also
to
glad.
Play a role.
I'm also glad they did happen. Well, because also it's like, so one of my things last year, one of my words and my intentions was connection and opportunity. And like, I feel like even that, and visibility was my third one, and even that has like fed into this year as well, because I feel like it all just builds and like I'm here right now with all these founders, and that's just wild to me. Like I don't think if I just kind of let this year like bimble on, then these kind of opportunities would have come up for me either.
I think you're spot on. It's shifting your position, isn't it? Where you're not like a backseat driver in your own business. You're not just like, well, wherever we go, we go. And like the nature of businesses is if you do nothing, they go somewhere. Like they don't stand still, but like there's no chance that it's going to go where you want it to, let alone at any kind of speed.
Or with any intention.
And I love that comparison you have of like the first few years of your business versus the last 2, where the last 2 you've stepped into that role of ownership more, and every month being like, where am I going? What am I doing? It's been so interesting to have these conversations with people in Onnit, and almost everyone has described the monthly calls in their own words in a really similar way of like, it's this forced realignment. Like whatever happens in the week, in the month, you know that first Monday of every month, you're going to come back to your goals. And even if you've made no progress, you're going to realign and you're going to work out what's next. And it just puts that vision back in front of you, because it's easy to just, like you said, a week, a month, a quarter, and then a year goes by and you're like, nothing that I really wanted has happened, and then you start to feel a bit deflated.
Yeah,
by that.
and then you get into, and I think everyone does it, but you get into like, oh, well, that person's been invited to that, and that person's in these rooms, and this is happening to X, Y, Z, and it's like, yeah, hello, it's because you've done absolutely nothing that they've done probably in the year to like get you anywhere. So yeah, I've very much switched from bimbling to kind of intentional work, I suppose.
That is a testimonial I'll take. From bimbling to intentional work. That's what we're doing on it. Mary, thanks for sharing your year with us.
You're welcome.
You're
It's been
great.
wild.
You're doing great
You're
things.
great.
Honestly, I feel so proud of you because I just remember where you were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think past you would be so bemused to see where the business is now, but so excited.
Yeah.
And I love all thinking of your past self, of like, how would they feel to see where things are now?